Hello everyone, and welcome to the updated Skyreach Challenge Mode Guide. I'm your host Babyjace, and I was the Unholy Death Knight in this run. Now, for Skyreach, you pretty much need a druid and a pet class to make the jump at the start of the instance here. And you'll see why, but other than that, you really don't need too much. A hunter does really help with damage on the first boss, and it helps you with skipping the golem at the end of the instance. But one is not necessary. At the start of the instance here, you are going to put your pet up on the boss's platform to the top right, and your druid's going to wild leap to it. Then he's going to go into deer form and jump down, and you're going to one by one jump onto the deer to hop the fence, so to speak, and you can just go straight to the first boss. This is pretty much the easiest way to do this instance because a lot of the pulls leading up to this boss are really hard. They're actually some of the hardest pulls in the entire instance, so you just want to take those adds and go straight to the boss and start DPSing the boss down. Now go ahead and use all your cooldowns on this boss. Do not use Lust, however, because Lust is not needed. Unfortunately, I had to dismiss my pet because it bugged and wouldn't enter the instance, and that is why you'll see the giant green thing in front of my screen the entire time. And I apologize for this, but again, my pet bugged and wouldn't come in. Now, when he does the 4 wins mechanic, you can go ahead and use a hunter with deterrence, and he can just target the boss and jump into it, and it'll reflect a dot onto the boss and do a lot of damage. Warriors can do this with Mass Spell Reflect, and I'm pretty sure Shamans can also do this with the Reflect Totem. So if you do this, the boss dies so fast. Once the boss does die, you're going to go ahead and pull the Raven down. Make sure you only pull the Raven, and you're going to want to just DPS it down. You really don't want to pull the Raven with anything else, because the Raven is probably one of the most cancerous mobs in this instance. I don't think there is any mob out of all 8 challenge modes that I hate more than this stupid Raven. As far as what the Raven does, it does charge at you and flips you around to the opposite of wherever the Raven is. So looking at the Raven, it'll flip you the opposite direction and then charge you. So just make sure you don't get flipped off the ledge or anything like that. You're going to go ahead and pull the mobs on the right, group them together, and AoE stun them. You're going to make sure you are nuking down the Rising Suns. Try not to let them get any heals off. I know it's kind of a pain, but make sure you just AoE them as much as you can and stun them if they're going to get heals off. But it's not too bad of a pull once you get used to it, and it allows you to skip the big guy later on. Once you've killed those, go ahead and get ready to pull the other mobs on the other side, making sure you are nuking down the Adept of the Dawn. You really don't need too many stuns here or cooldowns really. Like this side is a lot less deadly than the other side. Just make sure that the Adept doesn't get a heal off, and try to interrupt the Banish whenever you can. Unfortunately, I got cycloned here, and it's not too big of a deal since there's only 2 mobs left, but it is really annoying. Once you've killed both sides, go ahead and make your way to this boss. Swap into Marksman Spec if you have to, if it makes it easier for this boss. Kill the mob in front of it. Mob has like no HP. And get ready to pull the boss. You're going to Lust on the pull for this boss, so just make sure you have a lot of your cooldowns up and ready to go, because this boss is probably the hardest boss in the instance. Just go ahead and Lust on the pull, pot, use your cooldowns, and just nuke into the boss. Now this boss is going to have 3 beams that'll try to go to the boss. Just make sure you're interrupting all 3 beams, and he'll also do an AoE burst while you are soaking these beams. So the healer, just make sure your healer is aware of that and is ready to make sure that all 3 soakers do not die, because they are in immediate risk of dying. If you have a DK, DKs could easily soak with AMS, and especially if you have a DK tank. Tanks in general should always soak the beam. And just make sure you dodge the slam too when you are soaking that beam, because it's a lot of damage. I mean, you can generally dodge almost every slam, and every slam you dodge is a lot less damage that your healer has to heal up. Once you've killed that boss, you're going to go ahead and make your way up the stairs and get ready to go to the next pole. Now, for these birds, you're going to want an army of the dead so that they are taunting all of the birds. If you have 2 Death Knights, you can pull both sets of birds and the pack behind them. But if you only have 1 DK, it's pretty much safer just to pull the left and the right side birds. Group them together, stun them if you can, and just AoE nuke them down. These birds do a lot of damage, and once they start fixating, you want to start running. You cannot tank these birds. They make you take a lot more damage, and there is a lot of them, and they will start fixating you like crazy. Right here I have 4 fixates on me, and if I'm standing next to them when that stun wears off, they will start nuking me down. Pretty much, unfortunately for them, we kill them before they really can start killing me. Once these birds are dead, you're going to get ready to pull the boss. We accidentally pulled the boss and used Feint Death. You don't need to do that. It doesn't do anything. It was just an accident on our part. And it kind of wasted a little bit of time, but you know, that's okay. So yep, when the boss comes, go ahead pre-pot, use whatever cooldowns you have, and nuke it down. The boss is pretty simple. If you are able to kill a bird that the boss spawns before it starts moving, definitely that's what you want to do. If, however, you cannot kill a bird before it starts moving, you want to ignore them, because killing 1 bird could possibly mean 2 more birds come up. And 1 bird is easier to deal with than 2 of them. And this boss can pretty much snowball out of control if you are killing birds and spawning more birds. Once he does quills, go ahead and stand behind the pillar so you don't take any damage. If you are a blood DK, you can actually stand inside of all of the quills and not die. You just be ready to use a bunch of your cooldowns for it. I mean, it does kind of do a lot of damage if you stand in all of them, but it's not too big of a deal. If you are tanking this boss, make sure you do have active mitigation up for every Pierce Armor. He does use Pierce Armor every 5-ish seconds, so just make sure you have active mitigation up for that. You see here, we accidentally killed one of the birds, and it spawned 2 more birds. Now we have 3 birds to deal with instead of 2. Luckily for us, they are all fixated on the same person, so... Or 2 of them are fixated on the same person, so that's good, at least. The next set of quills come out, and again, hide behind the pillar. It does do a lot of damage, and every stack of quills you take increases your damage taken. Now, you're going to want to kill yourself right here so that you have your lust for the final boss. As you do spawn, you res and you spawn right there, so it's a pretty quick run back. Just make sure you get rid of your lust debuff. And for this wind maze, you can actually skip the entire wind maze if you have a Goblin Glider and some form of speed boost. So like Death's Advanced Goblin Glider works. Here I jumped on our Druid, and what he's going to do is Stampeding Roar and then jump over and Goblin Glider around the barrier. Now, if you can't do this, or you just keep failing it and there's just nothing you can do, don't worry about it. Just run through the wind tunnel. It's not really worth dying to over and over and over again, because you could easily take a pull where you could easily get gold, and then you lose your gold because you keep trying to jump it and you can't do that. Now for these mobs, you're going to go ahead and nuke down the Adept of the Dawn. It is the healer, and it summons the Sun Trinket and everything. If the Sun Trinket is spawned and the mob dies before the Sun Trinket goes off, the Sun Trinket will actually despawn, so that's good. Kill the rest of the mobs. Don't let the self-destruct go off, and be careful with the bird. You don't want to pull this bird during that trash. But once that trash is dead, go ahead and pull the bird. And again, the bird is going to flip you around and then knock you back. So just make sure that your back is to the wall so that you just get knocked to the other wall, and you just keep getting knocked back and forth in between the 2 walls. Or if you are not getting knocked into the wall, you could actually get knocked back off the ledge and die. It's happened before, so don't let it happen to you. Once you kill that bird, you should go to the left, and you're going to pull all the mobs on the left. You're going to AoE grip them together and AoE stun them. Make sure you're killing the Life Pack Familiar first, and then killing the Adept of the Dawn. Just make sure you are AoEing the crap out of all these. Life Pack Familiar has to die first, and then you are killing the Adept of the Dawn. The Adept of the Dawn is what does the healing. Just make sure you're interrupting however many heals you can. For every heal that ad gets off, it makes this pull way, way harder. So just make sure you are killing it as soon as you can once the Life Pack Familiar is dead. Once this pack is dead, go ahead and dismiss all your pets. If you have a hunter, the hunter can pull the robot to the right while the rest of your group runs to the left and feign death. You can also use an invis potion here and run past the big golem guy. What we opted to do is we actually pulled it with the boss because we had the damage to just kill it. There's really no point in doing it. I don't know why we did it. When I asked them, they said because it's fun. So you can definitely not pull it. You don't need to pull this mob. You already have mob count at 46 out of 46, so there's really no good reason to pull that mob other than to just have some fun. So make sure you hunter feign death, reset it, or just invis past it. It's not worth doing. If you're a Death Knight, you can Dark Sim the High Sage, and you will get a cast that does a pretty decent amount of damage. You can go ahead and use it on the birds that come down and grab people, as those birds need to die pretty fast. You can stun the bird too, so it doesn't drop them off the ledge. And that's pretty much all you really need to do on this fight. I mean, the boss will summon a shield construct. Just make sure you crowd control it. Like, we throw a frost trap on it and just keep nuking into the boss. The boss is very, very simple. Again, bird comes out. We start nuking the bird so that it doesn't drop them off. You know, you can stun it and the bird shouldn't drop them. Just make sure you keep DPSing him. You know, this guy thought he was gonna die actually, but you know, I saved him. Ghoul stun's pretty good. Just make sure you're using your Dark Sim ability on the Solar Zealot, not on the boss. I accidentally used it on the boss. If you use it on the Solar Zealot, they die pretty damn fast. And that should be it. This boss is actually very simple. One of the easiest bosses in this instance. Probably it actually is the easiest boss in the instance. If you have any suggestions or tips, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I always read the comments, and maybe I'll add an annotation with what you said. If you have anything you want to say, go ahead and leave a comment. I usually reply to them. And if this helped you get gold, or if you liked it, go ahead and subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. You know, it really helps me make videos. You know, the more subs I get, the more I want to do these videos. And up in front of you, you should see the other instances. Go ahead and click on any of them, and it'll take you to the updated guide for that instance. Other than that, have a good day.